Welcome back to Invictus Forum, and we continue with question interpretations. We are going to stay with the lady with a beard, and we are going to focus this time on contrast. Tap on the subscribe button, like, share our videos with other students so that they can also benefit from the revision which we are doing. You can also follow us at Invictus Forum on Facebook. Contrast. Contrast is the putting side by side of two things which are almost of the same quality, but to bring out the differences between the two. We can contrast ideas in the text. There's cultural contrast between Christianity and tradition. Christianity had been brought into the Bakosi land by the missionaries. And these reverend fathers have been very bold enough to seize the people's gods and burn them without anything happening. In the same way, Father Preston tells the congregation that he had fallen into the brook of the serpent and nothing had happened to him, and he had sprinkled the place with holy water to show how deep Christianity is. Father Preston makes the people to understand that they should not be afraid of Mwankum, that Mwankum is a human being who is incarnated as a spirit. And we also learn and see that Christianity is deeply rooted in the Moabite community because the church plays a prominent role in the burial of Mechane as they thrill the mourners with singing all through the night. In the same way, women go to church very early in the morning to attend morning mass. But on the other hand, the Moabite community is a community that is purely traditional. They believe in their way of life, which is that of communality. They also believe in superstition. They also have strong beliefs in their gods and ancestors. And therefore, Christianity is some sort of contradiction to their ways of life. This can be seen when Father Preston condemns Mwankum, and even the elders in the church disagree with him on this one, highlighting cultural conflict. We can also have contrast at the level of setting. We can contrast Atiek with Moabak. In Atiek, the people there, although there are little skirmishes and conflicts amongst them, like the conflict between Imade and the men and the conflict between Imade and the women, joy and solidarity and communality abounds. When Ntube spills the food in front of a Wangename's compound, the people come to solidarize and show empathy. Very early in the morning, the women visit Imade in her compound to comfort her for what had just happened. One of the reasons why the men want to remove Imade from her husband's compound is because she's a nursing mother. And they don't think it proper that she should stay with her child at the entrance of the village. She should be in the middle so that she should be given protection. On the other hand, in Moabak, people don't really care much for one another. Mechane has been such a very good woman. She shares the gifts that her children, that her daughter brings with the women in the community. She's so generous. Yet, in her illness, the women do not even know that she is sick. The women abandon her to herself, to be smeared in her own shit and piss. This contrast highlights conflict, superstition, communality, love, and above all, generosity and tradition, and neglect, ingratitude. We can also contrast Atiek and Ekenzo. While the women in Atiek ostracize Imade from female company, she is warmly received in Ekenzo when Ahone comes to take her away so that she might have some moments of peace, highlighting hospitality. We can also contrast characters. Eduke and Imade. Eduke is irresponsible, she's lazy, while Imade is hardworking, responsible. We can also say Eduke is vengeful because she can bear grudge, while Imade is open-hearted as she sends her some allen. We can also contrast Ahone and Imade. Ahone is very peaceful. She comes to tell her sister that she should reconcile with the women. She's also very loving. She comes and takes her sister away so that she might have peace. She's also caring. She visits her sister regularly to see how she's faring in Moabag. And when she hears that Ntube had fallen into the brook of the serpent, she rushes back to make sure that the serpent deity is pacified so that Ntube's life cannot be put in danger. On the other hand, Imade is strong-willed, confrontational. She doesn't care to take it headlong with the men and also with the women. And even when she is in a strange land in Moabag, she confronts the men, calling them weaklings, and at the same time decides that her sister will be buried at the center of the compound, which is directly against the tradition of the people. We can also contrast Mboke, with the women in Atiek. Although Imade has reproached the women in a very sarcastic manner, she recognizes the goodness. She has never touched anyone's husband. She has been very disciplined. On the other hand, Atiek women are jealous and envious of Imade's position as a woman who can stand her ground in the midst of many. We can also contrast the women in Ekenzo, who are very hospitable, to those in Atiek, who are very conflictual and confrontational. Eduke leads a conspiracy and even refuses to eat the food which was meant to pacify and bring the women together. We can also contrast Sango Mesumbe, who is very peaceful and full of wisdom, to the young boys concerning Imade as they want to incarnate Mwanko. The young boys are rash and confrontational, but Sango Mesumbe, in his wisdom, makes them to understand that there are some porcupines that if you catch, you may not be able to know the outcome. And this is able to save the conflict which would have ensued if the boys had continued with the action. We can also contrast objects. The prize-winning boa that Imade dances with during Gandu, for which she had been asked to give it to Miss Aukore, since they had already attributed it to him from the beginning, can be compared to the soul, which is borrowed to Miss Aukore to underline or to highlight feminism. Lastly, we can also contrast actions. While the women in Atiek are very hostile and want to make a mother to pay for her effrontery, the women in Ekenzo are very peaceful and they receive her in a very hospitable manner, making her to feel very comfortable. We can also contrast that while the women in Atiek show concern for one another, like visiting Imade early in the morning to sympathize with her for Ntube's spilling of food, and coming out when Ntube spills food in front of Iwang Iname's compound. The women in Moabak are so negligent, full of ingratitude, that even when Mechane falls sick, they do not care about her well-being. Lastly, we can contrast action. The drumming of the men and that of Imade is a cause for concern. During the vigil, Imade calls up some two young men who are not very drunk, and they beat the drum all the night. The music is so sweet that people begin to wonder whom the drummer is. But Imade had given firm instruction to the two young drummers not to disclose her identity. During Gandu, the young men beat the drum, but the drum has no flavor as the mourners are itchy to dance, pushing the people to force them to reveal the name of the famous and secret drummer. And when Imade climbs on the lead drum, the music comes alive. The ancestors join in the dancing. The old men rock their bones on their beds, on to the point that the praises that are heaped on her make the men to become jealous, making Imade to put the drumming to an end and asking the men to continue with drumming. After all, it is their prerogative, highlighting feminism. Share our videos so that other students in other parts of the country can be able to see us and also benefit from what we are doing. Leave us a comment to tell us what you think about the work that we are doing. Check up for my next video.